Hi all, we're the 4 a.m. IVAFM in Casale, and we hope you hear us. I hope it. We're proud to present you a presentation that's related to 3 kind of slides in PowerPoint, talking all of them of one rights in particular. We are going to present a video in this moment, and please listen to it because it's kind of important. And after it, we're going to present you. So let's start.
Human rights. We all consider them something necessary, don't we?
Generally, people are used to think about women's rights, children's rights, or even slaves battles as the major events concerning human rights, but we know that it would be wrong not to talk about every single situation.
So, ask yourself, who are the targets of human rights?
Just looking around us, we are given so many examples of action threatening freedom and expression. So we're now going to show you some facts which change the world, but please do not make mistakes to think that everything is over, because it's not at all. Listen carefully to the words you're going to hear, because they could be helpful, just in case.
Solidarity, liberty, power, equality, rights,
help,
duty,
no discrimination,
Human being.
freedom,
Justice. Society.
war, peace,
fairness, respect,
bravery,
Coexistence.
Good morning. Today I'm here with my classmates to talk about the rights. We are 3 groups, and each group will talk about different types of rights, like children's rights, women's rights, and in particular our group will talk about human rights. I give you an advice, take some notes during the presentation, because after the presentation we'll give you a test to do. So I hope you will enjoy our work, and let's start. Human rights. There is the overview. We will talk about the definition of the future of human rights, the 3 generations, the Amnesty International, the history of the human rights, some article of the Declaration, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the EU Charter of the Fundamental Rights, and the death penalty worldwide. The human rights are the rights a person has simply because he or she is a human being, and they are held by all people equally, universally, and forever.
Human rights are indivisible and inalienable, and they include life, education, equality, free speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of religion. Human rights are divided in 3 generations. There are the first generation that are the civil political rights. They deal with the liberty and participation in political life. The secondary generation are the socio-economical rights, and they guarantee equal condition and treatment. And the third generation are the collective developmental rights, and they cannot be exerted by an individual but only collectively. Amnesty International. Amnesty International was founded in 1961 in London by the lawyer Peter Benson, and it's a global movement of more than 7 million people, and they take injustice personally. They are campaigning for a world where human rights are enjoyed by all. Amnesty International investigates and exposes the facts wherever and whenever the abuse happen. They tell the powerful story of the people they work with, and they support people to claim their rights through education and training.
So, The history of the human rights. There is the four main steps for the civilization of our society nowadays. We are the Magna Carta, the United States Declaration of Independence, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the EU Charter of the Fundamental Rights.
In our opinion, the most important article about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are Article 1. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience, and should act toward and should one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Article 4. No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and slave trade shall be prohibited in all their form. And Article 9. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention or exile.
Article number 18. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom, either alone or in community with others, and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship and observance. The European Union Charter of Fundamental Rights brings together in a single document the fundamental rights protected in the Union Europe. The Charter contains rights and freedoms under 6 titles: dignity, freedoms, equality, solidarity, citizens' rights and justice. Proclaimed in 2000, the Charter has become legally binding on the European Union with the entry into force of the Treaty of Lisbon in December 2009.
Now we have the death penalty worldwide. And as you can see, the yellow countries have abolished the death penalty, and they are called abolitionists, and the remaining ones are like retentionists, where there still are the death penalty. Here we are the website where we took the information.
In our project, we have decided to explain the children's right. The child is recognized universally as a human being who must be able to develop physically, mentally, socially, morally, and spiritually with freedom and dignity. We are going to talk about the right of the children, Convention on the Right of the Child, the articles, the organization, and the child bride. Who are the children? The term child originally referred to a person from the birth up to the age of 7 years. Today, in the legal act, the expression child refers to young people aged under 18. Children, like adults, have a lot of rights, such as the right to childhood, the right to be educated, to be equal, the right to be treated fairly, and the right to be heard.
The children's rights were recognized after the World War I with the adoption of the Declaration of Geneva in 1924. The process of recognition of children's rights continued thanks to the Declaration of Children's Rights in 1959. on 20 November 1989, with the adoption of the International Convention, all children's rights are recognized. In 1989, world leaders decided that children needed a special convention just for them. The convention is the first legally binding international instrument to incorporate the full range of children's rights.
Now we pay attention to the fundamental article of this convention. The Article 1, for the purpose of the convention, a child means every human being below the age of 18 years. Unless, under the law applicable to the child, majority is attained early. The Article 2, the state parties shall respect and ensure the right set forth in the Convention to each child without discrimination of any kind, race, color, political or religion. The Article 13, the child shall have the right of the freedom of expression. And the Article 18, the parents have the primary responsibility for the upbringing and development of the child.
The most famous organization that promote the rights of children are UNICEF and Save the Children. UNICEF is a charity organization. They found through individual, through donation individual and organization to keep children safe. UNICEF work in school, hospital and with local organization. It has more than 16 years of experience working for children and is the only organization specifically named in the Convention on the Rights of the Child as a source of expert assistance advice. Save the Children is the world's leading independent organization for children. They work in around 120 countries. They save children's lives, they fight for their rights, they help them fulfill their potential. They Save the Children operate in Sierra Leone, Central Africa, Ethiopia and Yemen.
So I'm going to talk about children marriage. Every year, 50 million girls are married as children, denied their right to health, education and opportunity, and robbed of their childhood. 1/3 of girls in developing world are married before 18 years, and 1 in 9 are married before 15 years. As we can see in this graph, we have some percentage of different countries. Most of us think that India is the country with most children marriage. Instead, Niger has 75% of girls married before 18. These are the websites that we used for our project. And we have decided to show you how we were as children with some pictures. Thank you very much.
Okay, with the third presentation we are going to speak about women's rights. Women's rights in general, and particularly who are women and what is the women's rights. We are now not going to present you a bibliography just because we're going to step by step present every single slide. So start from the first declaration, of the first important declaration of the rights of women in 1791. 1791, a period in France of revolution, and a period where Olympe de Gouges presents his book. His book is related to a declaration, an ironical declaration, that he presented to the National Assembly just to make ironical question to the men that at time were employed in parliaments and were employed in political affairs. She asked why women had not the right to vote, and particularly had not the same rights of men, just because which strengths were the difference between men and women, and which were the strengths before them and between the rights of them all. Let's start with the article number 1 that states, woman is born free and lives equal to men in her rights. Social distinction can be based only on the common utility. And in fact, the common utility is the most important keyword in this article. The most important keywords because the utility is something that a man or woman can have independent by his nature of man and woman, and independent by his attitude. Common utility is subjective, and so a man can be great in some activity in the same way as a man is. So it's not difficult to divide those men and those women for communities, but it's wrong to divide them just because of his nature. The second article talks about the purpose of any political association, the conservation of natural and imprescriptible rights of women and men. These rights are liberty, property, security, and especially resistance to oppression. And the keywords here is oppression. Oppression because the oppression is the situation we find in this period that subject the women in the confront of men. And women are oppressed just because they're women. It's not, there's not any other motivation and any other things that can divide them all. So the first important declaration is that, and it is important to note that Olympe de Gouges lived 100 years before the Industrial Revolution and the movement of suffragettes. Suffragettes that the movement we're going to analyze. Who were suffragettes? Suffragettes were known by us as a movement of people that in 20th century started fighting against men to obtain their vote. But it's not so. Suffragettes comes from suffrage, and suffrage is the right to vote. And we are in the 19th century. Why 19th century? Because this is the century of Industrial Revolution, and in particular in the middle of 19th century we find the suffragettes. In the middle of this century we find men and women divided in rights and divided in attitude. In fact, women are allowed just to take care of their child rearing, and take care of home. In this case, women are mothers, and mothers can be look after their children, and mother in this way can look after our home and attitude like that. Men, at the contrary, were involved in political affairs and were involved in full-time jobs. Full-time jobs is a kind of action, a kind of attitude that men had and women hadn't, that can give dignity. And dignity is the most important word in this slide, just because dignity can give the men or the women the rights to vote. And if women had no dignity, women had not the right to vote. The things started changing in the Industrial Revolution. We're in 1867, where the full-time jobs is allowed also to women. Women that gained full-time jobs and could organize themselves into associations, into groups, just to discuss about why they had no issues, and they had no votes, while men had. And these groups were supported by one of the most important figures in this time, that John Mill. John Mill is a man, obviously, that parted from women in this battle, and that parted in parliament with women, proposing an amendment that could have given the right to vote also to them. It was rejected in 1867, and John Mill was not talked anymore. We're now in the 20th century, the century that's closer to us. The 20th century is very important for women because suffragettes became something more and more important and got the support in parliament. Having the support in Parliament is important just because they could publish a newspaper that's called Vote for Women. And Vote for Women says that women pay taxes, women obey law, so it's right to vote also for women. And this newspaper were not so seen good from men, but this was seen very good from the people who started partying for them just in this period. So, in England, we're in 1918, when suffragettes got the right to vote, and when women got the right to vote. Unfortunately, in Italy, we're in 1946. And at European level, where all the countries started having the right to vote for women, we're only in 1948, after the Constitution. It's a bit important, just because in England the things has been fast, and while in our countries, in the most southest country, it's not at all. Thank you.
Now I'm going to tell you something about the Istanbul Convention and why it's so important for the protection of women's rights. As we all know, women are not excluded from voting anymore. And even if the equality between women and men seems to be granted, there are still some problems to solve. For example, why women earnings are always lower than men earnings? Isn't it a form of discrimination? So, for solve this problem and many other discrimination problems that can regard any other people, the United Nations created the Istanbul Convention. This convention is placed every time it's necessary to prevent people from abuse. In year 2011, there was the latest convention and ended up with two considerations. First, the domestic violence against the women is a part of a wider pattern of discrimination and inequality. Second, it prevents and fights violence against women, which are committed just because they are women.
Well, in Italy, another big problem related to the women discrimination is the violence. As we can analyze from this graph, between 2013 and 2015, the physical violence is decreased from 13 to 11. At the contrary, the moral violence like oppression, stalking and mobbing is increased from 26 to 40. Another impressive data is that the 30% of victims don't know their abusers, while the 70% of them know very well their abusers, such as parents, relative or friend. I think it says enough.
We talked about moral violence, and in particular, one of the most common kind of moral violence is stalking. Stalking is not definable with a single word, with all a question. So we're going to analyze 4 words regarding stalking. The first word is obsessive, because stalking is an obsessive act of violence, of moral or physical violence against a person committed by another person that obsessed by her or by him. And it's right to understand, it's right to note that obsessive is a term that could hit a people that is not co-involved at all. So obsessive is the first word to understand. And the second is, at point, victim. Victim because the person that's subjected to this obsessive act is obviously a victim, because she doesn't or he doesn't want any kind of these actions. The stalkers, obsessed by her or by him, committed this action again and again, and victim doesn't want any time it, so he rejected it all the time. And the third and the fourth word are related to each other, because the third in this case is real life, and the fourth one is social networks. Stalking in real life is something that we can live. any day, and real life is something material. Instead of being in virtual life, so in social networks, real life is touchable, and stalking in real life can be following a person until home, can be color again and again, and so on. And this is terrible, obviously, but it's not so unbefitting. It's defeatable. And a person that's subjected to stalking can ask for help to police, for example, to denouncing it, to parents, to relatives, to friends, and he can be helped. She or he obviously can be helped. And it's quite comfortable. Instead, social networks is something more difficult to underline, because social networks are not a material life, are a virtual life. And we all know the most important social networks and the most used social networks by stalker, I think. So, you all know very well all of them. Facebook, email in this case, Ask, and WhatsApp. Why talk about them? Facebook has great social issues, so social and private issues that can be not so well with a person that are subjected, people that are subjected to a stalker. Mail is an action that can be forwarded to this person called blackmail, and blackmail is an action of stalking forwarded by social networks, in this case email. Ask is one of the most terrible, I think, action of social networking stalking, just because this permits to put questions to another person that you know or you don't know in completely anonymous way. And this provide a person that wants to be stalker or are obsessed or so on to ask for any kind of question to another person that can do nothing more than answer it. WhatsApp, we know all WhatsApp and chats called by WhatsApp can be not big so comfortable at all.
All over the world, the situation of women is different for rights, condition, working and education. To close this gap, a project is born recently. It's called Women Will. Women Will is a project that has two goals. In the developing countries, it tries to create a collaboration between the women for have a collaboration. In the developed countries, Women Will helps economically the science and the technology researches. An important organization under Women Will is Malala Fund, which keep alive the Battle of Malala.
We have just mentioned Malala Fund, but do you know who is Malala? First of all, Malala is a girl, not a woman, not a hero, just a girl. And she hasn't been known until the year 2009, when she started a personal war against Taliban's military, particularly because they forbid children to study and forbid women to be free. So, what did Malala do? She started writing for the BBC, and so she showed to the world how many victims were there in Pakistan, where people are also scared to go to school, because there the instruction is one of the most dangerous weapons against dogmas. Then, in year 2011, she won the Pakistan First National Youth Peace Prize, and after she won this prize, Taliban's military tried to kill her, so she was forced to move in the USA, where she finished to study. Then she came back to Europe, and she's now living in England. In the year 2014, she won the Nobel Peace Prize. And, but why we have chosen Malala? Well, because Malala is young, and the youth is something that reminds people about strength, and that is able to keep the hope alive. So if people trust in youngs, they can think that the world can be better.
To end the presentation with Malala, we have a great quotation, one of the most important quotations. That's one child, one teacher, one book and one pen can change the world. Education is the only solution. And this is the end of our presentation. But until that time, we have seen so many examples of action treating human rights in general. So human rights, children's rights, and in this case, women's rights. But before ending it all, I'd like to say some words about other kind of rights. Rights in general are considered all the kind of rights we've seen, but it's not at all. If we consider some kind of rights that we haven't spoken about, we can consider, for example, this one. This is an act of terrorism, and it happened obviously at the start of 2015 with Je suis Paris and Je suis Charlie, the start of 2015 and the start of 2016. Why talking about that? Because terrorism is something that can treat very much all the kind of human rights, and not considerable as children's, women's, or human rights in general, are another kind of situation that could make instable all these human rights. And if a nation can guarantee a sort of granting to the human rights and to the treatment of human rights, like in this case, I don't think I can stand it at all. Another example is it. For example, we can analyze this kind of situation. This is not rights. This is trying to avoid the approbation of rights for a kind of people. This is trying to avoid, to allow some people having some rights that we have already, and that we gain, and that we can have all the day. So this kind of manifestation is not something to defend a proper idea. It's something to fight against the approbation of rights for someone else. And I don't think it's right at all. This is a kind of situation treating human rights without being terrorism act. This is the tweet, one of the most important tweets I consider in this period. That's Obama's tweet. Today is a big step in our march for world equality. Gay and lesbian couples now have the right to marry, just like anyone else. Love wins. We have spoken about love wins in the first presentation, in the video you have seen, and I wanted to underline it just because in this period we can consider human rights more and more important, such as the history said to us, and such as the history taught to us. We have not to repeat the same mistakes we have done in history. So if the next time you consider something to you wrong because the society hasn't got something for you, hasn't provided some service, some goods to you, let's think about what you can do to make the society better. It's all. Thank you very much. Now we're going to present all of the people who participated and not participated to this project. I am Nicola Pozzati.
I am Stefano.
No. I'm Marianna Cadaleta.
I'm Greta Lobianco.
I'm Sara Gagliani.
I'm Ilario Ottone.
I'm Michela Vicario.
I'm Alessia Posante.
I'm Anna Moro.
I'm Manuel Ferrazzano.
I'm Beatrice Palmieri.
I'm Edoardo Romagno.
Serena Zorzolo.
I am Matteo Sabella.
I am Nada Zaidan.
I'm Rachele Farina. Finito?
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are still connected. We are still here. Okay, thank you very much. for your presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Here in Mortara, I think you have been able to follow our lessons. I think we have some time, so you might ask some questions. We can use Skype. I asked to some of my students to use Skype, even if the connection through Skype is a little more difficult than the streaming one. And would you like to say something about this project? Did you like it? How was it? What was the most difficult thing to do? Would you like to add something? My proposal is to show the video again. I think you have done a very good work, very good job, and I think we can use it again, and I think that has been a very interesting experience to me, and I'm very grateful to all the people that cooperated, in this mission. I think that students are better than teachers in some situations, but we have also got very good help. Professor Caruso helped me a lot, and I'm also grateful to Professor Maggi that has the idea to develop this project, and to Fondazione VELE that has been with us and has given a very, very precious cooperation. So, while maybe you can ask some questions about the development of the project or about the topics, I think we could show the video clip again. Okay, from the beginning, we will show you our video clip again. Probably after the presentation will be maybe more interesting, or maybe something new that now you can listen or look with new eyes. Or maybe you can ask some more questions after you watch the video clip again.
Human rights. We all consider them something necessary, don't we?
Generally, people are used to think about women's fights, children's rights, or even slave battles as the major events concerning human rights, but we know that it would be wrong not to talk about every single situation.
So, ask yourself, who are the targets of human rights?
Just looking around us, we are given so many examples of action threatening freedom and expression. So, we're now going to show you some facts which change the world, but please do not the mistakes to think that everything is over, because it's not at all. Listen carefully to the words you're going to hear, because they could be helpful, just in case.
Solidarity, liberty, power, equality, rights,
help,
duty,
no discrimination,
human being, freedom, justice, society,
war, peace,
fairness, respect,
bravery, coexistence.
Now we want to say hi to the headmaster, Dottoressa Furlano, that is in Mortara, and so maybe you still remember, certainly you remember Dottoressa Furlano, and she's with us this morning, and we want to greet her and to thank her, and to thank our headmaster as well. Okay, maybe you can ask some questions. We have some more minutes. for the connection, and in the second part of the day we will have another lesson. In this case will be Liceo Omodeo. That will be the teaching class. We'll have the teaching class and will be a 4th grade class, and this second lesson will be about war and peace, speeches of war and peace. Our students will attend the lesson always through Skype and with the help of the Fondazione VELE with a streaming connection. So now, while we are waiting for the second lesson, the second part of the morning, maybe we can still say something to our students. Get prepared for a test. Maybe some of us could say something about the test. How did you prepare it? Which kind of test is it? Would you like to say something, Ilaria? She's not prepared. It's a surprise, but if she wants just to say 2 words about the test, how is it made up? Come here, Ilaria. Which kind of test is it?
Is a particular test because you must attention about the presentation, and I hope that you can answer the question.
Ilaria, can you tell us how many questions? Ilaria, can you tell us? Ilaria, can you tell us how many questions and which kind of questions? Will be a kind of open questions test, multiple choice, true or false? Which kind of test is it?
The test is a question about multiple choice and one open answer about your name and your surname. Please answer about our question, and so we can understand if you have liked our presentation.
Okay, thanks a lot. And another question, Ilaria, stay with us, please. How is it the test? So, what did you use to make the test? Which kind of technology, instruments, tools? What did you use to prepare the test?
We have used Google, moduli of Google, and so we have prepared a sondaggio about our presentation.
Okay, so you will be asked to answer the question using a computer. You can do that at school or at home, but please do it by yourself, not with a partner. Okay, so I'd like to ask someone else maybe to come here to add something. How did you choose the information about this lesson? Who would you like to, Stefano, would you like to say how did you get the information? No, Stefano, come with us. Just how did you get all this information?
We visit a lot of websites, and in our group we worked hard to make this project, and I think all my classmates made it. It was a very interesting project. I have a lot of fun and a lot of pressure because it's my first time that I make this thing.
Thank you, Stefano. Now Nicola is the person that prepared the video. So we have to really thank you him very much. Okay, so Nicola, just would you like to share something with us?
Yes, I think I shared enough with the last presentation, but it's not important. This video is a kind of video composed by many videos found on the net. It's not this. Just a moment. Okay. And as you could have seen, is a part of UNICEF video talking about obviously children, and part of others video took from the unfortunate effect of the Twin Towers or women's rights. In particular, this year is being presented a movie that's called Suffragettes, and that treats about the movement of suffragettes that could be a little important. So if you can see it, you can find it to the cinemas, you can find it to video share online, and I think it could be great. It's not something that could be strong to listen, could be strong to see. It's something that could be important just to know. And in particular, pay attention to what rights in general are, because it's not so common to understand all the presentation we have done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicola. Thank you very much to Nicola. Maybe some other people from other groups that want to add something? Rachele? No. Greta? Nobody else. So, would you like to ask any questions? You might write on Skype. Was it difficult to follow these presentations? We can give you the presentations because we have a link that has been prepared by the class, by someone especially. So you could review all the material just to get prepared for the test. I think that could be a very good idea to look at the video again or look at the presentations, and maybe you can revise all the material. Okay? Are there any questions?
It was actually very easy to follow the presentation.
It was? Come with me, just. No answer. Okay.
It was actually very easy to follow.
Okay, thank you very much. These students, our friends, students in Mortara, said it was very easy to follow the presentation, was very clear. So thank you very much for your feedback. And I think we are a little bit early, but we can say goodbye to the class. Okay. So, we want to wish you all the best and see you soon. We wish you all the best.
Bye.
This is the first presentation of a series of lectures focusing on speeches of war and peace during World War II. We are Sara, Giada, Sofia, Alice, Richard and Diana, and we will talk about the famous speech delivered by Winston Churchill in 1940. After the German conquest of France, Hitler tried to form an alliance together with the UK, but the United Kingdom refused to stand with Germany because they had different ideas. Winston Churchill, the new Prime Minister appointed after the failure of Neville Chamberlain, delivered the famous speech Blood, Toil, Tears and Sweat on the 13th of May in 1940. This speech is regarded as one of the most influential and important speeches of all times. Winston Churchill was a far-sighted man because he already predicted that the war between Germany and United Kingdom would switch from air to sea. He also underlined the importance of the United Kingdom in Europe because if UK fell, Germany would become the leader of the world.
The key ideas of his speech were a total union of UK and mankind and victory at all costs. From the political point of view, he united all political parties in order to save time and also to avoid internal fights. In fact, he himself told
that this House welcomes the formation of a government representing the united and inflexible resolve of the nation to prosecute the war with Germany to a victorious conclusion.
Victory was the only option, as he said in his speech.
Victory at all cost. Victory in spite of all terrors. Victory, however long and hard the road may be. For without victory, there is no survival. Let that be realized. No survival for the British Empire. No survival for all that the British Empire has stood for. No survival for the urge, the impulse of ages that mankind should move forward toward this goal. I take up my task in buoyancy and hope.
So it is clear that he was conscious that the British Empire was the last hope against German domination. He also involved common people in his speech, as he quoted God.
War, with all our might and with all the strength God has given us, and to wage war against a monstrous tyranny, never surpassed in the dark and lamentable catalogue of human crime.
In conclusion, we can say that he followed an offensive policy against German tyranny. Thank you for the attention.
I'm Camilla.
I'm Beatrice.
I'm Federica. I'm Cecilia. I'm Giulia.
And I'm Rebecca, and we are talking about the declaration of war made by Franklin Delano Roosevelt against Japan. This declaration of war arrived after a period of peace between Americans and Japanese, and until the date of the 7th of December of 1941, when the fighter planes of Japan decided to attack by surprise the Americans' naval base in Hawaii. And this attack was a complete surprise for Americans, and a lot of the service men died, but even a lot of civilians died and were badly wounded. The first wave of Japan target battleship and aircraft, while the second wave target the other ships and the shipfield facilities. The prime targets were Lexington, Enterprise, and Saratoga, and they were not damaged. This attack was known as the sneak attack and was broadcasted via radio for the American public, and this led to a state of anxiety and terror, and a lot of young men decided to join the army. The nation united behind the power of the President Roosevelt, and they effectively ended the period of isolation of America. The day after the attack, the 8th of December, Roosevelt made his speech.
On the 8th of December 1941, President Roosevelt appeared before the Vice President, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. He referred to the day before as a day which will live in infamy because of the Japanese attack, and that completely took America by surprise. He also said that the United States was at peace with Japan, and that they were looking toward the maintenance of peace, and negotiation was still going on. Indeed, 1 hour after the attack, the Japanese Empire replied to an American message saying that it was useless to keep on negotiating, but in this message there was no hint of the incoming attack. This led America to think that Japan was preparing the attack days before or even weeks before, and they were trying to deceive the US with false statements. During this attack, many American lives have been lost, and the naval and military forces have been damaged, and Japan also attacked other islands in the Pacific and military bases. For example, they attacked Hong Kong, the Philippine island, Malaya, And this meant that Japan wanted to expand their power in the area of the Pacific.
For Roosevelt, Japan has therefore undertaken a surprise offensive through all the Pacific area. And he continued to say that people of United States have already formed their opinion and that they well understand the implication of this attack for their safety. He continued to say that no matter how long it may take to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people will win with absolute victory. He asserts that they will not only defend themselves, but they will make it clear that this will not happen again. So he declared that hostilities existed and that American people, American territory and their interests are in grave danger. So he trusted the American First Arms and that they will win with absolute victory. At the end, he asked the Congress to declare that since the Japan attack on Sunday, a state of war has existed between United States of America and Japan.
3 days later, on December 11th, Japan allies, Germany and Italy, both declared war on the United States, and the United States Congress responded immediately by declaring war on them. Soon the conflict between Japan and the United States became a global war with Axis powers, being Germany, Italy and Japan, against the Allied power, being Britain, America and Soviet Russia. Thank you for the attention.
Hi, we are Simone, Francesca, Matteo, Claudia, Federica, Alice and Luca. We are going to talk about the Atlantic Charter, or rather the Declaration of Principle issued by the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of the UK, issued by Roosevelt and Churchill on 14 August 1941.
On March 1941, the USA Congress approved the Land-Lease Act, and on August 1941, the USA and Great Britain stipulate the Atlantic Charter. And these two events account for the developing geoeconomic and geopolitical strategy pursued by the USA, reveals the deep causes of the future introduction of the USA in the Second World War. And with the Land-Lease Act, USA wanted to create an economical link between them and the other belligerent European states. And this way favors the opening of the European trade market, avoiding the danger of another overproduction crisis. And in the Atlantic Charter, it is evident that the USA wanted to guarantee themselves the economical and political area of influence, which is not threatened by the imperialism of the other powers.
The President of the United States, Roosevelt, and the Prime Minister of UK, Winston Churchill, have met in a military ship at sea. The whole problem of these conferences was the supply of munition of war as provided by the Lease Land Act. Lord Beaverbrook, the Minister of Supply of British government, has joined these conferences and is going to proceed to Washington to discuss with the officials of United States government. These conferences will also cover the supply of munition of the Soviet Union, and the President and the Prime Minister considered the dangers towards civilization arising from the policy of military domination, and they have made clear the steps which they are respectively taking for their safety in facing these dangers.
So Roosevelt met Churchill to make known certain common political principles in their country on which they based their hopes for a better future for the world. These principles were 8, and the first one is that the country seek no extension, no territorial extension or other kind of extension. And they wanted no territorial changes. In the third principle, people can choose the form of government under which they will live. And in the next one, they will further enjoyment by all states, great or small, in order to improve their economic prosperity. So in the next one, they wanted fullest collaboration with all nations, and they will improve labor standards, economy, and social security.
In the sixth principle, they express their desire to peace in order to let their citizens live in safety within their boundaries, but also to live out in freedom from fear. In the next one, they declare their desire to travel and to trade abroad around seas and oceans without boundaries. And in the last principle, they showed that the only possibility to achieve peace is abandoning any use of force in order to encourage people to live in love and peace. In fact, without armaments, no nations can threaten or aggress the other. It's possible to stop the war, and in order to keep a system of general security.
A year later, on the 14th August of 1942, President Roosevelt delivered a speech commemorating the first anniversary of the Atlantic Charter. He remembered the day when himself and the Prime Minister of Great Britain sat down and subscribed to a declaration of principles common to people, the so-called Atlantic Charter. They hoped for a better future on the realization of these principles. Roosevelt also talked about the victory of nations or group of nations against common barbaric enemies. They fought for their existence, and their faith in love, in life, in liberty, and in independence led to the creation of the United Nations. President Roosevelt considered also the fact that freedom and independence were in danger. In fact, they depended on the successful resistance and defense of the forces of conquest. He insisted on the purpose of nourish the great ideals for which they have fought. He called this battle a worthwhile battle, and concluded stating the principle for an happier world. Thanks for the attention.
Okay. So it's now my turn. I'm so proud of you guys, of all the 3 groups showing up here, because you have been working very, very hard on such difficult piece of history and documents, trying to keep yourself faithful to the letter and the guys, I mean the spirit of the documents itself. May I ask you some questions? I know it was not included. Why did you choose to work this way? I mean, just like ruling out the use of technology, or just focusing on the text of the documents itself? I know you want to reply. Okay.
Okay. So we decided to work on the document and to commend them into in class, so to work divided into groups, and we divided our discussion. We translated from Italian a bit part, the history. We translated the part of history from Italian, and then we speak also with our teacher to have some more clarity on the themes. Highlights the themes.
Okay. So, is anyone else who want to just witness, give a testimony of the work you have been doing so good so far? Yes, that's
we have also listened to videos in which there were the explanation of the speeches, and so we have improved our pronouns and the words, the pronunciation and the words, and then.
Yeah. I just want to ask you, why was it so important listening to the phonographic issue, to the pronounced discourse over the internet? Does it make any difference to you in learning and in self-efficacy? In rendering, in the presentation towards other people, towards the audience? The focus is just like written text versus oral text. I know it's a cruel question, but you can reply to that.
Yeah, we didn't know some words from the text, so we couldn't know the deep significant or meaning of the text, and so with the audios we have understand better what we were reading and what we are going to speak about.
Oh, now I'm talking to the other class. I actually have to give a big, huge also thanks to everyone working with me. First of all, to Luisa. You have been wonderful, and I'm hoping and looking forward to be working along with you. And I also extend my compliments and regards to your classes. They have been as good as well. I hope we did our best and we made ourselves clear. It's just like a pilot project, so probably there have been flaws, defects, but we're gonna be working towards mending them in the future, because I hope there's gonna be a future in that. So I'm gonna invite all of you guys, stand up, come all over next to me and wave goodbye to your fellows into the other school. Yes, catch him, get him. Okay, say hi. Ok, arrivederci, ciao, grazie di tutto. Ok.